Hello, T-Rex math students. Yesterday, we were starting Investigation 1 of our Moving Straight Ahead unit and our Linear Relationships learning targets, and we were finding our walking rate. So today, as we move forward, I want you to find where you had your walking rate, and I want you to think about how we can use the strategies we did in our comparing and scaling unit. For example, in our unit previously, we worked on how to write a comparison. You can compare it in miles to hours or hours to miles. So the order that you choose depends on how you want to work with the comparison. We also looked at a rate table in our previous unit, and we compared miles and hours. And in this case, we chose to use miles first and then hours, but you might organize it hours first and then miles. We also went ahead and talked about unit rates, where you're comparing your units, such as miles, to 1 hour or miles per hour. And finally, we wrote equations where we were comparing variables like miles and hours with an M and an H as our variables, and using that constant multiplier, constant of proportionality, as our multiplied term to our 1 unit or hours. So today we want to take that walking rate, and whatever it was, I want you to go ahead and set it up as a comparison. I'm going to choose to write mine as meters per 4 seconds. You don't have to write it that way. You might choose to do meters with a colon for every 4 seconds, or whatever your time was. You might also decide that in some cases you'd rather put 4 seconds or your seconds, whatever amount of seconds you took to walk the 10 meters, you might choose to do that before your meters. Whichever way you choose is going to help you to manipulate the information a little bit more. What I mean by that is, if we look at my information in the first unit rate, if I want to go ahead and find how many meters I walked in 1 second, I would rather use the way I organized the first unit rate as comparing meters first and then seconds, because I can scale down by 4. So I can divide by 4 in the denominator, divide by 4 in the numerator, and get 2.5 meters in 1 second. So if my question's asking me how many meters can I walk in 10 seconds, how many meters can I walk in a minute, this would be a very good unit rate to use. Okay? I might use the second one if I choose to figure out how many seconds it takes me to walk 1 meter. So I would use this unit rate because now I can scale down by 10, and that would give me 4/10 of a second to walk 1 meter. So then if I have a question like, I walk 50 meters, how long did it take me? I walk 100 meters, how long would it take me? I can answer that more successfully. When we look, so today we're going to be taking what we learned yesterday with walking rates, and we're going to be moving on to problem 1.2. In 1.2, you're going to be thinking about how walking rates might affect the relationship between time walked and distance walked. We're going to start to look at rate tables again. We're going to make equations, and we're going to also be building graphs with that information. So today you'll be working with your math partner, and you'll be going to page 10, and you'll be looking at 3 characters, Gilberto, Alana, and Leanne, and you'll be experimenting with how to make a rate table for each of the characters. In your rate table, it's going to be important to notice that you're going to want to organize a rate table for each of your characters. So for example, if I'm working with Alana and her walking rate, I'm going to use a rate table maybe that compares meters and seconds. And it asks in part A to record the first 10 seconds. So I would want to keep my rate table going like so until I get all the way to 10. Okay? If her rate is 1 meter for every 1 second, I'm going to fill a 1 in for the first second, a 2 in for the second second, and so on. I'm going to do the same thing for each of my characters. The next character is Gilberto, and so you're going to want to set up a rate table for Gilberto. Remember, we're building on what we did in the first unit. So last time we did one rate table and then graphed it. This time we're going to be looking at multiple characters on the same coordinate plane. As always, thanks for watching, and please have a productive math class today. T-Rex Math, woo!